Hi, ViJay. Thank you for doing this interview. I have some questions for you that some people out there would like to ask. First, let's start off with how you got involved with Friends in Action Canada, Water for Life.
Okay. I've been interested in doing short-term missions. Like after I, spent some time in the military traveling, I enjoyed traveling very much, and I wanted to continue to do that. But I wanted to also make it, a take of service rather than just pleasure. So I started getting into short-term missions, doing different parts of the world. But what I was looking for mostly is a threefold thing. I wanted to make sure that the work that I was doing was essential in making a difference in people's lives, and secondly, I wanted to make sure that I was able to relate with the people. So it wasn't just going somewhere and not seeing who I was helping. I wanted to be involved in the villages as well. And third, and which was actually most important, I wanted to make sure that the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ was being proclaimed, because that was the first and foremost thing that I wanted to do with the short-term missions. And when I got a chance to go to Africa through my church, they were putting together a team and going to Burkina Faso for the drill team. I had never done any drilling before or anything like that, but I just wanted to get involved. When I went there, all these three things that I was talking about, I found that they were, a very big part of the whole project. And I fell in love with the project and fell in love with Africa. And I found that, the work that I was doing was changing lives as well. And it was just something that I really love doing, and I want to continue doing it.
That's really wonderful to hear. Can you tell us more about the villages in Burkina Faso? What is life like for the people that you're drilling for?
Yeah, well, when I first got there, got to the city, as I said, I really didn't know what to expect in Africa. I knew it was a poor country and everything. Didn't realize the extent of the poverty, because I grew up in Fiji, and when I was a child, we were poor, but I didn't really know it. And going over here, I noticed that poverty was, we don't know what poverty is here in Canada. Seeing what little people have, and they're able to do so much with what they have. This was in the cities, and when you get to the villages, they got little brick houses or mud houses that's no larger than what we have as a bedroom here, and there'd be a whole family living in there. The region of Burkina Faso that I go to is really dry. There's hardly any trees around some places, so they don't even have firewood to boil water in and to cook with. It's really a commodity. Firewood is, and the water that they're drinking is really dirty. The village itself they're small villages, but there's other surrounding villages as well. There could be anywhere from 300 people to like 4,000 people in a localized village.
The drilling team in Africa that you work with could utilize a second drilling rig. Can you explain about the current rig and why there needs to be a second one so soon?
We just had bought a new rig, because the old one was just it was 22 years or something like that, and then it was breaking down a lot, so we were able to buy a new rig. And then what we started doing is every 2 weeks there's a new team that goes, team from Canada, US, and the UK, made of about 8 men, and we'll go there and take part in helping with the drilling of the wells, right? So every 2 weeks there'll be a new team coming in, and in the beginning when they started doing this, Matt and Mark were the two principals that were doing that, and everybody else would come in and just basically aid with that. So every 2 weeks it worked, because they'd get 2 weeks off and then come in with a team of 2 weeks. But then another person, Tim, got involved full-time, so Mark and Tim started working together, and then Matt and I started helping a lot with Matt, and then there was another fella, Dean, that was spending a lot of times. We're almost full-time, like the 4 or 5 of us were full-time almost. And what started happening was we had one rig now, but every 2 weeks we'd have people going on there, so there was no downtime for these rigs, and it needs downtime, it needs maintenance time, and we're just not able to do it. And the need is that great that we can continue to keep working the rig, every week. But it does need downtime. So we decided what we need to do is to, we don't want to shorten the work time. So we thought the best thing to do is to just get two rigs going, and we'll have two different teams. I'd be involved in one of the teams with Matt, and the other team would be with Mark and Tim. And then we get the the guys coming in, the 6 or 8 guys coming in, working with both teams basically. So we'd have two teams going at the same time.
Explain more about how the water changes the lives of the villagers. What additional benefits are there? Are they able to grow crops? Is the land fertile around the area?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the land is actually quite fertile, but unfortunately it doesn't get enough rain, or they're not able to hold rain in any kind of reservoirs. They'll do it in little ponds and stuff, but then by the summertime, I mean, you're at plus 40 Celsius, the water dries up very quickly. So they're not able to use the water for the farming. So what we do is, I mean, when we supply this, they've got unlimited amounts of water. Some places they can basically start up a whole irrigation system for the whole village. And I've gone back to, I've been back over 5 times, and I've gone back to some of the villages that we did drill with, and I've seen farms where there was nothing, there was just dry, and you see, rows and rows of like cornfields, and there'd be other vegetables that little, the villages will section off little places, and they'll grow their own, their own crops, and then the animals, they're able to, water right there instead of having to walk the animals really far away somewhere else. So they're able to have not just the crops, but they also have animals that they can use for farming as well.
Do you have plans to go back to Burkina Faso?
I'd like to go back tomorrow, but the next time that I'd be going back is probably, it was supposed to be January in 2016 when I was going back, but then there's other issues that had come up in the meantime that I'll probably talk with you a little bit later on as well.
How can other people get involved?
Well, there's a few ways people get involved. I mean, one is to, of course, go and be part of the team and go out and do help out with the drilling. You don't have to know anything about drilling itself. Like when I went, I didn't even know what, how they made wells. I had no idea. I thought it was a hole in the ground and you found a river down there or something. I had no idea how it worked. Or any of the machinery or anything like that. So all we just need is people that are willing to go and lend a helping hand, because we've had realtors, we've had lawyers, we've had people, accountants, and myself in the military. So people from all different walks of life, and being able to go there and just take part and help out. So that's one way of doing, but if you're not able to go, you can also support somebody else that's going, because it costs about $2,500 for every one that's going. So if you're not able to go, perhaps sponsor somebody else that is going, or just donate to the cause itself, to Friends in Action, because each well costs about $8,500 Canadian, and we raise all these funds. I mean, like, it's a non-profit organization. We don't charge anybody for these wells, so everything is done towards donations. So there's several ways people can help.
You also mentioned that there was some issues with going back to Burkina Faso. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, yeah. The last time I was in Burkina Faso, in Africa there, was April 2015. When I got back, I had some stomach problems, and I guess I was having some trouble from a little bit before, but it got really bad on that one weekend, and I went to the hospital to get checked up to see what was going on, and surprised that I was diagnosed with having pancreatic cancer, and so that kind of kiboshed a lot of my plans. At the time, the doctor told me that I probably had about 6 months get my house in order. And this was the cancer had grown to a point where it was wrapped around some blood vessels, and they may or may not be able to operate. So my all my priorities and everything got condensed in a very short time. So right now I'm actually going through chemotherapy and radiation treatment to try and beat this cancer. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I leave it up to the Lord. But what's happened since that time is I know that we need a new rig, and I'd like to go back to Africa and work on this new rig too. But what I'm doing is trying to raise enough funds to purchase this new rig now. It costs about $450,000 Canadian to get this new rig and all the equipment, you know, from where we buy it into Africa and ready to go. So my goal is to raise about 300,000 of that 450,000, and after doing so, I myself will be working on that, or I want to leave that as my legacy if I'm not here. So that's, I mean, that was the issue that came up. I'd really like to be able to beat this cancer. It doesn't look promising yet, but I mean, God's in command, and I leave it up in His hands. However, I mean, with raising the 300,000, I know that collectively, people, we can do this. If you can get on board and realize what great need there is in Africa, and how close the water really is, because some places we've drilled, I mean, the water was 50 feet in the ground, and there's nothing around. There's no you know, reservoirs or anything around, and yet we're able to get this water at 50 feet. So there is water there, a lot of water in Africa. We just need to be able to go and get the teams out there and you know, do this thing. So I'm asking, you know, whoever's listening, let's get on board and raise this money and get this rig and go out in there and do some good.